Hello everyone, welcome back to Jikook Moments. Before we begin, allow me to ask one simple question. Since when did outsiders start believing they understand Korean culture better than Koreans themselves? Every time the conversation turns to Jimin and Jungkook, the same phrases are repeated like a sacred mantra. It's culture. In Korea, friends are just like that. It's not romantic. These statements are delivered with absolute certainty, as if they are beyond question. Yet there is one pattern that is far too obvious to ignore. That certainty collapses the moment native Koreans, those who live and grew up within that culture, say, "No, that's not normal between friends." Instead of pausing to listen, the reaction becomes defensive. Korean opinions are dismissed as invalid, exaggerated, or even accused of being influenced by fandom. And that leads to an unavoidable question. Why is the word culture only respected when it supports a preferred narrative, but immediately discarded when it challenges personal comfort? Today, we are not going to speculate. We are not going to assign labels. We are simply going to examine patterns, facts, and contradictions, and look at why the argument, "it's just culture," is not as simple as it is often claimed to be. Because this is not about a single disagreement. This is a long-standing pattern within fandom. A pattern where people who are not Korean, who did not grow up in Korea, do not live within Korean social norms, and do not experience relationship dynamics there, feel confident enough to explain how Korean friendships are supposed to work. More than that, this claim is used as a weapon to invalidate any interpretation of Jimin and Jungkook that does not align with their narrative. What's particularly interesting is how selectively this cultural argument is applied. Not to all members. Not to all interactions. Not to every form of closeness within the group. It appears, consistently, only when discussing Jimin and Jungkook. That fact alone speaks volumes. Because if this behavior were truly common, ordinary, and representative of all friends in Korea, we would see the same pattern with equal intensity and consistency across other relationships. But we don't. This is not about fandom preference. This is about basic observation. Jungkook does not treat everyone the same way he treats Jimin. Not with the same frequency. Not with the same intensity. Not with the same kind of touch. Not with the same gentleness. That difference matters. We are not talking about an idol who is simply affectionate in general, but about a dynamic that is specific, consistent, and striking. Let's talk about concrete actions, because this is where the cultural argument begins to lose its footing. Jungkook feeds Jimin. He watches him quietly but constantly. He takes care of him through small, tender gestures, soft touches that are careful and attentive. Not rough. Not exaggerated. Not performed for the camera. What we see instead is intimacy that flows naturally, attention that appears even in moments when others seem unaware of anything at all. This kind of attentiveness is not accidental, not an empty reflex. It is emotional attention. Yet there are still those who insist that all of this is completely normal in Korean friendships. And yet, Koreans themselves, repeatedly, explain that while physical contact does exist among friends, it is not expressed in such a constant, intimate way that crosses personal boundaries. Certain gestures, especially soft caresses and prolonged closeness, are culturally more often associated with romantic relationships. The clearest example is the ear incident. Jungkook sucking on Jimin's ear is not something that can simply be erased with the excuse of friends joking around. Even outside Korea, this gesture carries a very clear connotation. And when Koreans themselves state that this is not common between friends, the cultural argument that was once celebrated suddenly no longer applies. So the question is simple. Which one is actually being believed, culture or a comfortable narrative? This is also not about one isolated moment taken out of context. It's about accumulation. These actions repeat over time. They don't disappear. They aren't confined to a single era. They don't feel awkward or forced. On the contrary, they appear automatic, natural, almost effortless. Even some Korean YouTubers, who are not part of international fandom spaces, have pointed out that Jimin and Jungkook's dynamic resembles that of an established couple. Not because of dramatization, but because of how natural their care, closeness, and mutual trust appear. The kind of connection that doesn't need to be showcased because it already exists. What truly unsettles some people is not the fact that Jimin and Jungkook are close. That is already accepted. What feels uncomfortable is acknowledging that this closeness does not fully fit into the box of just friends, even according to the culture they claim to defend. And let's clarify one important point. No one has ever said that Koreans have confirmed Jimin and Jungkook as a couple, boyfriends, or spouses. That has never happened. What has been stated is something far more specific and culturally meaningful, that their actions are not normal between friends in Korea. Not common. Not typical. Not something seen every day. When Koreans speak about their own culture, their words carry weight. This is not fandom theory. It is the voice of people who understand unwritten social boundaries. That's why it feels so absurd, and honestly, embarrassing, to watch foreign fans argue with Koreans about how Korean culture actually works. In the end, the issue isn't a lack of information. It isn't cultural ignorance. The issue is denial. Denial of the fact that Jimin and Jungkook behave intimately and flirtatiously with each other, and that their bond resists being forced into the category of ordinary friendship. Regardless of labels, one thing cannot be denied. The Jikook dynamic is special, visible, consistent, natural. And when something that clear is constantly rejected, what looks unstable is not the reality, but the denial of it. Because Jimin and Jungkook are not trying to prove anything. They are not playing roles. They are simply being themselves with each other. And sometimes, the most genuine connections are the ones that are never announced. Because bodies, attention, and actions speak far louder than words. Thank you for watching Jikook Moments. If you believe that honest observation is always worth discussing, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments, with an open mind and without prejudice. See you in the next discussion.